Wow. In 2012, I started doing some work on a project for a friend of mine, and basically he was dry sifting hash and using silk screens and shaking and hand shaking, and he said, I got an idea, I want to make a box that does this, and there were some other products online, and I said, well, I can do that for you. And he's like, well, if you do it, you could sell it and do whatever you want to with it, I just need one. So I invented the Alchemist in its rawest form, which is basically 4 screens with 2 solid sides. One had a hinge and a lid, and then on the side it had a handle, and the handle was a pulley. It was a big pulley, and then on the pulley I had one of those steering wheel 8 balls, you know, that truckers use or people have on their car steering wheels. I had it in my living room, and my kids were spinning it. We were timing it, and I was like, okay, you're gonna do 20 rotations per minute. And I didn't have anything covering the screen, so as I started to turn it, and it just filled my tiny little house with keef, and it was just like this cloud of keef dust that was everywhere, all over everything. And we were like, oh man, we might really be onto something. And since I was shipping from my home, I couldn't really have big packages like that because they don't like to do that from home addresses. So I ended up compacting it and putting the pans on the outside, and the pans then trapped the keef and blah, blah, blah. That's what basically became the Alchemist. And of course, submitted it for paperwork, and we got a patent on it. And at the time, it was one of the first US patents issued with the word cannabis in the patent. But that's kind of where it started. The whole GreenBroz journey started there, and from there it was, I have something really cool that people are really gonna like, and I think people are gonna wanna buy, and now I have to get it out to people to buy it. And I went on a road trip up to Northern California, going store to store and trying to sell it, and wasn't getting a lot of response or respect, to be honest. So yeah, that was how it all started. In my journeys to sell this Alchemist, I met a guy at a company in Garberville, California, and they were a trimmer machine sales and rental company. And at that time, they were selling a dry trimming machine. Dry trimming was not happening. As a matter of fact, it was wet trimming, you know, and then this guy had developed this dry trimmer, which was basically a, you know, front load dryer machine, basically style. And they were selling them like crazy. Like, they couldn't keep them in stock. They were selling them so fast, and the guy had one in there, and he's like, this, you gotta see it, I was telling you about this. And I looked at it, and I said, you know what, I'll be back in 3 weeks with a better machine. Big presentation, I got there, finally got it all set up, and I'm like, dude, you gotta come see it. And I had 2 pounds of untrimmed cannabis, and I put it in the machine, and I remember the owner of that store watching it, and he said, you know, Cullen, I sell all these machines, all of them. And these are the same machines that are out there today. And he goes, I've never been impressed with one of these machines. He said, but that's impressive. And that's when I just knew it. I just knew I'd hit it. You know, the trimmer had hit the gold standard, and to this day, no one's even come close to it. The trimmer was the first big one. I mean, the trimmer was obviously the pinnacle moment which launched the company. The next product that came up was a sorter, and the sorter was just a matter of looking at some existing technology and finding out what was made the most sense. And initially we had made a sorter that had a lot of drop in it, which we thought was damaging. But we made an output conveyor on that, so that, you know, we made a sorting table, same sorting mechanism, but we wanted it to be gentle so it wouldn't damage as it came out. So ours falls on the conveyor like this, right there. You know, and it's a very short gap, and then it rolls off that into a table, a tray. You actually don't have to bend over to pick things up, that kind of thing. So everything that I look at in cannabis is about how to do the job properly in cannabis, because there's a lot of companies out there that don't really care. They're just trying to make money, and there's a lot of companies out there that don't really know, and they're still trying to make money, and they all do. But we care, and we know how to do it right. So that's what we focus on. We spent 5 years in development on the grinder, And the 5 years of development on the grinder taught us so much information about cannabis. Like, we have deconstructed cannabis in every way that it can be done. I challenge anybody to come with something that I haven't done. Like, we have done it every possible way. We've had some really cool ideas, and we've had some really bad ideas. Some of the other machines, you know, that are out there, they do very gross work as well. They grind through, they just push the product through. But what we did was in the process of learning how to grind, we actually learned that you could separate stems. And that became kind of like, well, let's pursue that, right? Let's pursue removing the bud material from the stem material, and then let's see what happens after that. And in that process, we got a killer grinder, right? So to me, that's a watershed moment. That's a moment where it's like, we have now completely separated ourselves from everybody else in the industry because of what we do and how we do it. And that machine is, I think, is a pivotal moment, right? There's a lot of people making grinders and they're all doing the same crap, but you know, we don't do the same thing. We do something different because we don't approach it with that attitude. We approach everything in cannabis with the idea of cannabis first and what should be done the right way. So everybody else is approaching it with a mechanical problem first and not a cannabis problem first. You have a cannabis problem, solve that mechanically, and that's what we do. We're not interested in making a killing. We're interested in making the best machine that worked correctly. We're interested in making the best equipment. I don't care if we get the market share. I don't care if we take over the world. I don't care. What I care about is the best equipment. Whoever has my equipment is going to know that they're sitting with the best piece of equipment for that job, period, end of story. But I also see us still being a very vibrant, creative, and innovative force in the industry that, you know, frankly, our competitors are looking at and wondering how we do it. And that's great. I want to be in that position instead of looking, over my shoulder, wondering what's going to happen next.